lot of different surveys in Puget Sound, and we've been doing them over the past 20 years. And only recently have we come across sevengill sharks.
You got something?
They're kind of coming down into South Puget Sound now, and this could be due to shifts in their prey, shifts in water temperature, shifts in, climate change. We don't really know, but right now we have 15 tags out of animals, and we're tracking those, and they are going everywhere. So we're picking them up in Oregon, we're picking them up in California, and we have 7 more tags to put out this season. So we're hoping to start that here in April and May.
No way.
And then we have a receiver network that is kind of, they have acoustic tags in them. So those acoustic tags will ping off the receivers, and we'll be able to track them and how they're using the Puget Sound. Yeah, so we published a paper, I think Jess Schulte. So she is a PhD candidate that we've been working with. She's tagging sevengills in a population that we already know about out in Willapa Bay to get a better idea about, this is kind of that genetic component again of, are the sharks that are in California genetically the same as the sharks that are up here in Washington? Are they kind of migrating and just using these different areas at different times of the year? So she's doing a tagging project out there. And then as soon as we kind of saw that these sharks are now coming deep into Puget Sound, we wanted to know, like, are these a different group, the same group? But the tag sharks from Willapa are not coming into Puget Sound, but the Puget Sound sharks are going other places. Mm-hmm. So they're learning it from somewhere. So Jess Schulte just published that paper. But another one will be coming out with the results of the tagging efforts that we're doing with sevengills.
It's really beautiful. And this pattern is unique to each individual, like a fingerprint. So we take photos of them so we can do photo identification of them. And then one of the most unique identifying features of them is that they have 7 gill slits. So other sharks, almost every shark has 5 gill slits. So this is a really, people see them and they're not sure what it is. They can count the gill slits, and 7 will be a 7gill.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we're both graduate students at Oregon State University, and so I'm looking at broad-nosed sevengill sharks, and Ethan's looking at soupfin, and he'll be here in a second once he gets us back in the water. But we're looking at movement and foraging ecology. So
Okay.
when we catch them, we're tagging them with these movement trackers, and then we're collecting samples on them to see what they're eating, so where they go and what they eat. And then we re-release them. So we have them here on shore with us for just a couple of minutes while we take measurements, and then we'll do that tag and collect the samples, and then we release the animal and it swims right off. And then each one of those tags has a unique ping that it gives off, and so we can use those unique pings to track the animals as they move throughout Puget Sound and also out of the sound. So these sharks come in during the summertime, the sevengills and the soupfin, they come in during the summertime. And so they're potentially a new species here. They've never been regularly documented here. And so we're trying to basically figure out what they're doing here now that they're here. So we use those movement trackers to see when they're here during the summertime and then track them as they leave Puget Sound. Because in other places around the world, sevengills and soupfins are both really important ecosystems, animals so they're top predators, both of them. And so having them in these ecosystems has a lot of implications, not just for the fisheries, but also for us as people who, also eat those fisheries.
Totally.
And interact with those ecosystems. And so it's not a bad thing that they're here.
Yeah.
But we are curious about what it actually means, what they're actually doing here, what type of resources that they're using, and what does that mean for the long-term health of the ecosystem. So.
Well, wouldn't it mean that there's just like an abundance of prey? Right? Like it's probably why they're coming in?
That's what I would guess, that there's something to support them. So sevengills in other places around the world, they eat a lot of, marine mammals a lot of times. And so there has been a lot of marine mammal population increases in this area in the last couple of decades. So it's possible that sevengills are here to prey on these marine mammals like seals, which could be good because seals eat a lot of salmon.
Their prey source is really high in Puget Sound. In the area where we're finding a lot of them is a haul out for seals. And we know that because the Marine Mammal Protection Act, that seals in Puget Sound are really high right now. So they're probably following their prey source and they're hanging out in areas where seals are pupping. So this is probably has something to do with prey availability. And when you protect one animal like seals and you don't protect other animals like the things that would eat baby seals, then you get kind of a mismatch between your predator and prey populations. And that is kind of what, they are now available. And it would probably be very good for the Puget Sound to have the populations of seals knocked down a little bit because they prey on other things that humans really like. A lot of our fish, a lot of our rockfish, a lot of our salmon. So having sevengills here present in the Puget Sound is not necessarily a bad thing for our ecosystem.
Right. It's a little bit of a loophole. That's kind of interesting.
Yes, removal programs for seals and sea lions that are backed up against dams and sitting there eating the salmon that are trying to go upstream, to actually have a predator in the system that can help, bring some of those populations down, will help other components of our ecosystem, like reducing predation on salmon and other species. Ethan Personius, he is also a master's student at OSU. He is the one that put out the publication for the range extension for soupfin sharks.
Researchers have discovered 2 new species of sharks in Puget Sound. They are the broad-nosed sevengill and another shark known as the soupfin shark. Their existence in the Sound was something of an urban legend just until a few years ago.
It's interesting to find those very open ocean sharks coming into Puget Sound. And this may just indicate, and I don't know for sure, but it just may indicate a shift in the ecosystem of, where these animals have been, and either warm water is allowing them to come in, or, they're being pushed in different directions now as their prey sources are moving and they have to adjust to move with them.
Yeah, so for the soupfins, they were depleted a long time ago. So they used to be a pretty abundant species, and in World War II era, there was this shortage of cod liver oil.
Now it's winter, you want to watch the children if you don't want them to catch colds. The under 5s are entitled to cod liver oil, while the under 3s can get cod liver oil and orange juice too. It's ready and waiting, so come and get it.
So they couldn't get that from Europe anymore because all the shipping was blocked. And so they needed to find a source of vitamin A here. And so they tried a couple different fish. They tried halibut, they tried, black cod, just a few different species, but the species that had the most vitamin A was soupfin. And they would
Interesting.
Yeah, and it was $13 a pound for the livers at one point in 1930s money. So it was almost $280 in today's money. So people really went after them hard and just sort of fished them until they were almost wiped out. And so we don't really know what the status is now.
Yeah.
So having them sort of appear in this inlet, it could be a good sign for the population, but it could also be, we need to investigate it a little more, see if these are these the same population that we're seeing out on the coast? We also do a lot of work in Willow Bay, where a lot of our tagging happens, but we don't know how the sharks that we find in South Puget Sound really fit in with the sharks we're finding on the coast. Is this the same reproductive population, or is this an indication of a range expansion?
Yeah. Well, that's pretty exciting. You guys are basically on the front lines of a possible new population here in Puget Sound.
Yeah, exactly. So once we catch an animal, we have this cradle that we built with the students here. And so we're actually bringing up and putting the animal on this cradle. And so it holds them out of the water for a little bit. And we've got this pump right here to water over their gills.
Okay.
But the cradle allows for safe handling of the animal.
Yeah.
So it kind of straps them down. And so it's safe for the animal, and it's also safe for us to be handling them. So they're just kind of secured there. They've got water over the gills, so they're being aerated. So they're good to go, and so that's when we can actually work up the animal, do all our measurements.
It's funny, as soon as you put this towel on them, they really just sort of mellow out. Calms them down. It also
they just think they're back underwater.
I don't know.
I don't know.
They're just okay, it's dark, I'm chill.
Yeah, and so it also keeps their eyes moist. So some sharks have a nictitating membrane, which is kind of like an eyelid, that they can use to protect their eye if they're going to go through something, or blink to kind of close their eyes at times.
With tiger sharks, it's like a reverse eyelid, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But not all sharks have it. So white sharks don't have it, but also sevengills don't. So we cover their eyes up with that towel to basically keep their eyes from drying out. Just kind of make the process more comfortable for them.
Yeah.
But like mostly when they feel their weight under their own body, because they're used to being in the water. So as soon as they feel their own weight, they sort of fall out.
You know, when people think of like top predators in this ecosystem, everyone thinks killer whales. But it turns out there's a lot of sharks here, just in this whole region, not just here in Walker Park, you know. And so that's what we're trying to quantify and understand is what is that role that they're playing, and how can we incorporate that into our broader understanding of Pacific Northwest ecosystems. That way we can have healthier ecosystems now and into the future.
The sevengills that were found here in South Puget Sound, they thought that they weren't here, and then they realized that they are here.
Yeah, so what happened there is there was a post on Facebook of a person holding a shark out of the water. And it was tagged by our law enforcement because in the state of Washington, you can't remove 6-gill sharks from the water. It's illegal because they come into Puget Sound to pup. So this person was holding a shark out of the water and sent it around for verification that it was a 6-gill shark, which is illegal. So it came to myself and my colleague at NOAA, and we said, that's not a 6-gill shark, that's a 7-gill shark. So we contacted that person and essentially figured out where they were fishing. And then with Oregon State University, NOAA, and WDFW, we went out to verify that these animals are in fact in South Puget Sound, which we did. So that study was kind of the first, like, oh crap, what are they doing here?
Is that an indicator that the Puget Sound is healthier, or are you more concerned that it's going to destroy like the existing ecosystem there, or is it more like they're already there, they're already established, and we're just now getting record of it, kind of a thing?
Well, that's a really good question. So there was a study that was published last year, and this was done in South Africa in a bay there, where white sharks, great white sharks, what people call them, but white sharks, were preying on this very specific population of seals.
Mm-hmm.
And then essentially the let's say the tourist community and folks that have a fear of white sharks really targeted them and took out the whole white shark population. They netted them, killed them. They didn't want them near beaches. Anyway, so white shark disappeared from that area, and 7-gill sharks moved in. So the 7-gill shark population went really high, and the white shark population, and it changed so many things in the ecosystem with the different abundance of different types of fish, different seals. So we're probably seeing something fairly similar to that. It'll be a change in the trophic levels, possibly.
You hold the bucket.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've had mornings like this.
We try to make it as fast as possible. Yeah, this is cool. Oh, what is that? I don't know. Smell the tweezers. Where's that? Where's the data tape?
I have data.
What is that? Who is that?
It's got those big lips.
But it does have the eyes.
What is it? Northern Ronquil.
Sharks are a really important component of our natural system, and having fear around them for humans is not really warranted, especially for the types of sharks we have here, that they're doing their job and they're keeping things in balance. What we really want to do is just bring awareness that these animals are really helping the Puget Sound